The Indian subcontinent. A massive tract of land. Jungles, savanna, deserts, and mountains. Cut off and protected from the rest of the world by the mighty Himalayas. A refuge for animals that no longer live anywhere else. Here they play out an age-old battle for survival. This is the story of the tumultuous lives of India's wildlife over just 24 hours. A summer day is dawning over India. This day, like every other day, will be a struggle for survival for India's wildlife community. Some animals will not see this sun rise again. For them, the clock is already counting down. It's 6 a.m. One of the first animals to emerge from the twilight is also one of the rarest. The great one-horned rhino may once have inhabited much of southern Asia, but now is only found in northeastern India and Nepal. As adults, they are only vulnerable to poachers. But young Indian rhino are commonly preyed upon by the king of these grasslands. Tigers will kill up to 20% of rhino calves. And the dim light at the cusp of night and day can be perfect for hunting. But even baby rhinos have well-developed senses of smell and hearing. The tiger stalking this mother and calf may be one of the stealthiest hunters in the Indian jungle. But these rhinos know something dangerous comes. The tiger has many prey choices this morning. India's wilds are full of potential predators. This is the only place on Earth where tigers, leopards, and lions are on the prowl. And almost a dozen other species of hunting cat. 5 species of wild dog also roam the land. Few places have as many large carnivores. With thousands of species of suitable prey for them, this is dawn in a hunter's paradise. The Bengal or Indian tiger is a solitary hunter and can be active day or night. Each tiger's coat of stripes is unique, but every coat has the same lethal purpose. The buffalo and deer this cat hunts can't perceive reds, oranges, or yellows. Combined with the tiger's disruptive stripes, it is well hidden in the shadows. But early in the morning, this tiger must break from cover to drink from a waterhole. waterhole is eerily quiet. The other animals give the cat a wide berth. The Cheetal deer, in particular, are on alert. They have a finely tuned understanding of tiger behavior. They appear to know that with a belly full of water and weary after a night of hunting, this tiger is unlikely to go out of its way to chase a fleet-footed deer. It is a calculated assessment. The Cheetal is backing its superior speed, barking at the tiger to see it on its way. The deer may have won this standoff, but as the tiger fades back into the brush, it will have noticed the small deer's limp. Marking it as likely prey. By 8 a.m., the day has truly begun. The animals that inhabit India's night are bedded down. Now is the time for the daylight hunters to begin their rounds in search of a meal to carry them through to another day. India's dholes stalk these forests in packs of up to 30. They can grow to the size of German shepherds, a formidable predator, particularly when they work together in large numbers. Even full-sized deer are potential prey. Dholes maintain their own territories, but are also happy to work and play with other groups of dholes. This young couple have split off from the others, perhaps to start their own pack. Marking their territory is a head-down, bottom-up job. But the honeymoon is almost over. For this new pack to succeed, these two dogs must be successful hunters without other packmates to help them. They need to make a kill today. But these young and inexperienced animals are already struggling. The hounds are being hounded. For the most formidable pack hunters in the Indian forest, the morning is a time of rest. They relax in the shade until it is time to resume the perpetual search for prey. The Asiatic lion is the only lion to be found outside of Africa. It is the lion of the Roman Colosseum. They once dominated the wilderness, from here to Europe. Today, their last remaining habitat is centered on the Gir Forest, northwest India. Unlike African lions, male and female Asiatic lions live quite separate lives. only occasionally coming together to feed or mate. The rest of the time, it is the females who run the pride. While the males are busy being kings of their domain. This male must defend his territory by scent marking and roaring to warn off intruders. He may control up to 180 square kilometers of forest, but he is not alone. He has a confederate, perhaps a brother, to help him guard his land. But even with help, these lions can only hope to hold on to their place at the head of the pack for a couple of years. Their defenses are continually probed, this time by a young lion ready to test their mettle. But 2 defending lions is one too many, and the young challenger retreats. As the sun rises higher, the ground temperature in India is already passing 25. Escape from the heat begins to control the lives and movement of the animals, both prey and predator. It is now 4 hours into this 24-hour journey with the wildlife of India. The country's dense forests are rich 3-dimensional habitats where animals don't just live side by side, but above and below. These grey or Indian langurs have come to this grove in search of figs. The mid-morning rain is on its way, and this tree will provide shelter as well as food. Almost anywhere they grow, fig trees are a keystone species that support a wide range of animals. More birds, mammals, and reptiles rely on fig trees than any other group of plants on Earth. In the tropics, they are the tree of life. Amazingly, most species of this hugely important tree and all its dependent animals rely on a single type of microscopic wasp for their survival. Only the tiny fig wasp can enter the fig tree's flowers and pollinate them so fruit will grow. Without the wasp, these trees would be barren, and the world's tropical forests would be different places. Beneath the fig tree, the ground is rich with fallen fruit, fermented in the summer heat. And the Indian langurs are sophisticated enough to take advantage of free alcohol. Liquid lunches are all in vogue with this troop. Luckily, they are happy drunks. Not so much tired and emotional, as emotional and then tired. The problem is, this is no place to let down your guard. A leopard is close, and it has a taste for monkey. Midday temperatures and high humidity are combining over India. Thunderheads grow as moisture is swept upwards by rising air, condensing and promising rain. Painted storks in India's wetlands pant as a way of combating heat stress. Birds have no sweat glands, so panting is one of their main ways of cooling themselves. The younger storks can shelter from the sun in the shade of their parents. But these storks can also deliver a cooling shower to their young family. In the hills of tropical southern India, the afternoon rains have already come, like they do most days from June to September. In the tropics, trees can bear fruit several times a year, creating an almost permanent supply of food in the jungle canopy. These large jackfruit are highly prized in the forest. Today, the jackfruit is found growing across Asia and Africa, but its original home is thought to be here in the Western Ghats. In the Animalai Hills in southern India, a small troop of lion-tailed macaques is making a lunchtime feast of the jackfruit. But ownership of such a tree is hotly contested. An invasion is underway. A larger and more powerful troop of lion-tails has taken over the tree, driving the small troop out. But for the lion-tails, it's almost impossible to go hungry this time of year. There's always another fruiting tree for them. In the north, the drunken langurs have awoken, somewhat worse for wear. Predators like leopards are experts at picking out weaknesses and exploiting them. And groggy langurs look like easy prey. They are normally sprightly enough to evade a leopard that has lost the element of surprise. But not so today. For the animals living in the steaming lowlands, the waterhole is a place of refuge. Dozens of species share the same water as if they've agreed on a truce. But not everybody has laid down their arms. It is mid-afternoon in the Indian grasslands. At the height of summer, temperatures can reach over 45 degrees Celsius. Cooling off for the tiger is a simple task. They are the water lovers of the cat world. But all creatures, great and small, come in search of mud and water to cool down. With its huge bulk and very few sweat glands, the one-horned Indian rhinoceros must use mud to keep itself cool. As the mud dries, it will suffocate any skin parasites that the rhino is carrying. India's rare buffalo also seek refuge from the heat and insects that are biting them. Just like human children, for young rhesus macaques, an afternoon swim means playtime and water fights. All under the careful supervision of the older females in the troop. Supervising kids as they play is one way that adolescent females learn their mothering skills. Most of the animals that use the waterhole appear to have reached a détente, so that they can all enjoy its benefits. But there are always dangers waiting as the afternoon temperatures climb. As much as they need the water, the cheetal are wary at the water's edge. The waterhole's mugger crocodiles are hungry. Growing as long as 5 meters, India's mugger crocodiles are considered to be just medium-sized crocs. Deer are larger animals than they usually prey on. But they can go for months between meals, so time is on this croc's side. One day, a cheetal will lose the race, and the mugger will be rewarded for its persistence. In the nearby forest, a mother golden jackal is struggling to keep her litter of pups fed. Her territory is hard up against that of larger jackal packs, so her hunting grounds are being eaten away. Her pups are on 2-hourly feeds, so she only has short windows of time to hunt for the family. An elder daughter will watch the pups as she goes in search of food. Golden jackals are one of the most successful and widespread of the wild dog species, with a native range stretching from Greece to Thailand and as far south as Tanzania. But this jackal is not so lucky. Hunting on her own puts her at risk and minimizes her chances of success. A carcass has drawn her to the waterhole. But a larger jackal from a bordering pack is already there. Ending the small female's chances of scavenging meat to help her feed her small pups. Some young animals are much better off. Shadowed by the protective bulk of its mother, this elephant calf has little to fear and can explore the joys of the water. Coming to terms with the use of a trunk can take some time. With as many as 40,000 different muscle units running through it, it's a significant piece of anatomy to master. And a highly sensitive one, too. By placing the tip of their trunk to the ground, elephants can pick up vibrations from nearby animals with exquisite detail. But even more powerful is the trunk's ability to smell. With a sense of smell that may be many times more powerful than a dog's, there is probably very little that escapes the notice of an elephant, particularly when they are protecting their young. After a pregnancy lasting almost 22 months, the longest of any mammal, this calf will be cared for by its mother, aunts, and sisters for another 10 to 15 years. Only a few days old, this calf already weighs some 90 kilograms and stands about 1 meter tall. But in the presence of a tiger, it is still at risk and must be well protected by the herd. This is not the prey the tiger is looking for, but there are many animals for it to choose from, and before the day is over, it will have earned its title as the premier hunter of the Indian forest. As the Indian day begins to wane, the temperature in the lowlands is still very hot. With barely a breeze, the grasslands can be stifling, and the animals move slowly, as if in a stupor. The young dholes who've broken off from their pack are still on the hunt. After a long, hot day, the grazing cheetle are at a low ebb, and may be the best chance for a meal these dogs will have today. They press forward on the herd of deer, singling out a large antlered buck. Predators like dhole usually target the small, the weak, and the slow. But today, this pair of dogs is after the most reward for its effort. In thick scrub, the antlered buck has little chance of escape. It rushes towards more open ground where it can achieve full flight. But the hungry does are faster. As the day wanes and the temperature cools, on the forest floor, an age-old battle for mating rights has begun. These Travancore tortoises are found only in southwestern India. They rest during the day and become active late in the afternoon. These two males have an issue to sort out. Who owns this patch of ground and has mating rights over a nearby female? The younger male on the left hopes to ram his message home. But he won't be winning a lady tortoise tonight. The spoils of war go to the victor. He can sense that she is ready to mate. But first, he must whisper sweet nothings, tortoise style. It seems that Travancore males have a limited repertoire. And females, like men of few words. Late in the day, Indian vultures are drawn to a carcass. A buffalo has died in the summer heat, and crowds of scavengers are gathering. The scent has drifted through the forest. The jackal mother, short on both food and milk, is aware this could be her last chance today for a meal to sustain her family. Jackal pups are rarely left alone, but hunger is pushing these dogs to extreme measures. Her adolescent daughter joins her to reconnoiter the smell. There is competition among species when a body is being divided. The vultures must retreat when a wild boar arrives. While the female pigs travel in groups called sounders, the big male boars are often loners. With a bone-cracking bite, other animals are wise to avoid them. But the jackal family are more hungry than wise right now. Across India, night will soon fall, bringing fresh danger. The hunters will have free rein in the forests and grasslands. Until then, there are just a few short hours of daytime left for the wildlife to eke out an existence. The tigress is on the prowl. She is a crepuscular hunter, meaning she shines in the dim light of dawn and dusk. Early this morning, there were plenty of deer at the waterhole, including a cheetal with a conspicuous limp. It is time for the tiger to silently return to the waterhole in hopes of meeting the small cheetle again. She makes it past the normally alert langurs. Sambar deer that are still wading make ideal targets for a tiger. If she attacks while they're in the water, they will have to walk before they can run. Exploding out of the blocks, her presence is broadcast for all to hear. But it is too late for one of the sambar. Her spine-severing bite ensures a quick death for the deer. The night has yet to begin, and this tiger's work is already done. She has cubs hiding far over the hills, so getting her meal home will be a long journey for her. As the day comes to a close, there is a change among India's animals. The night hunters are rising and waiting for darkness to set in, while the daylight animals are retiring back to the refuges they use for safety after the sun goes down. The jackal pups are still on their own. Their family has not returned, and these young dogs are too small to defend themselves. Without adult guardians, they are unlikely to make it through the night. As if in warning of their danger, a troop of rhesus macaques approaches the den, sending the pups scurrying in fright. At the water buffalo carcass, the adult jackals can wait their turn no longer. They must eat today if their pups are going to survive. But they must get back to the den before dark for the same reason. But sharing a meal with a wild boar is a dangerous game. The jackals are hungry, even snapping at each other in the rush for food. As the day's temperature falls to the 20s, rhinoceros become more active. Early evening is a prime time for grazing. But these two rhinoceros have other things on their mind. A male has been drawn by the scent of the female. These animals rarely mingle with each other very well, and this evening is no exception. But in the rhinoceros world, a small fight is also part of foreplay, as is chasing. This kind of courtship behavior can last for days. But for these two, tonight is the night. Mating can take more than an hour. And when it is done, the female will wander away and expect to have no more to do with the male. The cover of darkness has arrived. It will hide many deadly deeds, but it is also a protective cloak for many animals, hiding them from the prying eyes of hunters. As darkness falls across India, it is time for many animals to begin their day's work. The night shift is clocking in. The waterhole is active at night as well as day. Hundreds of eyes glow from the surface of the lake. Some of these eyes belong to young mugger crocodiles. Frogs leap to escape them as the crocs learn to hunt. The best way for them to catch frogs is to corral them against a bank. But these young muggers are not alone. Further out, the adults are using a similar technique on fish, working together to channel them into becoming a meal. Muggers are one of the few crocodiles in which both parents will care for the young for a few weeks after hatching. So this may be a family of crocodiles at hunt together. But crocodiles are otherwise cannibalistic, so the young will be wise to keep to the shallows. Some animals, like the sloth bears of India and Sri Lanka, are almost exclusively night animals. The predator these bears are most wary of is humans. This possum-like common palm civet has much to worry about. A leopard has caught the civet's scent and is stalking it. The civet's main defense is to release a nauseating smell from under its tail. But like most animals, their first defense is to run and hide. They are expert climbers. Leopards are the most arboreal of the big cats, but they are no match for a civet. The civet has nowhere else to go, as the leopard carefully goes further out on a limb for its meal. With a leap that is literally death-defying, the civet jumps to safety, leaving the leopard to become just a cat stuck in a tree. In an underground burrow, a female Indian python is tightly coiled around her clutch of eggs. For 2 months, she has guarded them, occasionally shivering to keep them warm. But her job is done. Her offspring can release themselves from their leathery eggs, cutting their way into the world with a razor-sharp egg tooth. At up to ½ a meter long, these young snakes are ready to hunt small animals like mice. But the sustenance from their eggs means they have a few days yet before they must kill. Under cover of dark, this newly hatched Indian python makes its way to a nearby stream for its first drink. Like most tropical constrictors, this young python is an excellent swimmer. It will often hunt from the water. It can stay submerged for up to 30 minutes at a time. It's not the only predator making use of this stream. It looks like a house cat gone wild, but this is a rare fishing cat. They live in small numbers throughout Asia and can weigh more than 10 kilograms. As their name suggests, they are famous for fishing. But these cats are powerful enough to take small calves and dogs. A small snake is just a snack for a fishing cat. Ending the life of the young Indian python, just as it had begun. In the forests of India, the difference between living and dying is often luck. Mother Nature does not play favorites. And as this night comes to an end and a new day dawns, the game of survival is reset. Some animals have made it against the odds, while others have been taken for the greater good of the forest. What is important is that this wilderness persists, the creche for this unique group of animals. A place like no other, a wildlife Shangri-La hidden beyond the massive fortress walls of the Himalayas. The islands of New Zealand. 15,000 kilometers of rugged coastline, protecting rich primeval forests, and a strange collection of animals cast away for 80 million years. Isolation has allowed New Zealand's wildlife to evolve in ways unlike anywhere else on Earth. This is the story of just 24 hours in the lives of these amazing creatures. New Zealand lies in the South Pacific, 1,600 kilometers east of Australia. It is known as Aotearoa, land of the long white cloud. 80 million years ago, New Zealand unzipped from the Gondwana supercontinent and the rest of the world. Adrift and protected by isolation, New Zealand's animals were free to evolve in unique ways. While mammals and reptiles dominate most countries, New Zealand became a land of birds. This lost world wrote its own script and developed its own cast of extraordinary characters, all key players in the drama of the day ahead. It is 4 a.m. In the pre-dawn light, a new life emerges. Inside this enormous egg is a flightless kiwi chick. 11 weeks ago, its mother laid this egg and then walked away, leaving the father to protect it. Since then, he has lost a third of his body weight guarding the egg. So he too must soon leave. The chick hatches with a belly full of yolk to keep it going, a necessary birthday gift, because it is abandoned the moment it hatches. From day one, it must fend for itself. The once predator-free New Zealand is now awash with introduced rats and stoats. As a consequence, 9 out of 10 Kiwi chicks won't make it to their first birthday. Luckily, not all of New Zealand's birds are as flightless as the kiwi. In the far south, where New Zealand reaches deep into the roaring 40s, wind and wings are a natural pairing. A new day dawns over the Snares Islands. Just before daylight, there is a mysterious exodus of birds from their burrows. The Snares are free of introduced land predators, so the sooty shearwaters are safe here. These birds can fly, but first, they need to get to their launch site, making 5 a.m. peak hour in the otherwise isolated and empty Snares Islands. Today's flight plan may take some of these birds on a 2,000-kilometer trip to the edge of the Antarctic ice pack. The ocean between New Zealand and Antarctica is one of the richest fishing grounds in the world. Because of these plentiful seas, New Zealand supports more diversity of seabirds than any other country. The most iconic of them are the penguins that inhabit much of the southern coastline. Even the cliff-bound Snares have their own species of penguin. Because these birds can't fly, the islands are both a sanctuary and a prison. These Snares-crested penguins have hungry chicks to feed, so both males and females must forage for food every day. Each hunting trip begins with their escape from this Antipodean Alcatraz, down a near vertical wall. A single slip here can mean instant death, because sea lions patrol the water's edge, waiting for unlucky penguins to fall. Someone needs to make the first move and enter the water if these birds are going to feed their chicks tonight. But sometimes the first move isn't voluntary. Once in the water, this flightless bird puts its wings straight to work. Penguins and their ancestors have been swimming these waters for as long as 60 million years. The mainland shores are home to 3 more penguins. The yellow-eyed penguin, the Fiordland crested penguin, and the world's smallest, the little blue, joining this morning's pilgrimage out to sea. It dives in shallow waters, hunting small fish and squid. This little blue penguin may travel 24 kilometers today in search of food. With the sun well above the horizon, the ocean's nighttime animals have given way to the day crew and returned to their hideouts. All but one. This southern rock lobster is on an important mission. She needs to find a current so that she can release her offspring. In the morning light, it is a perilous journey. Snapper will happily prey on this crayfish. She has already carried her 100,000 eggs for 6 months and must release them today. The larvae she sets free will ride the currents, some drifting up to 1,600 kilometers. The larvae that make it to adulthood can live 50 years or more. But for this mother crayfish, the journey to release her eggs has led her down a dangerous path. And into some very deadly arms. Back on land, having a family is equally complicated. Particularly with a species that will eat its own. The start of a new day in New Zealand, and the air is filled with the call of gulls. The coastline is home to millions of them, each eking out a living. The most numerous of all, the red-billed gull. The single females in this colony have a problem. Males are in short supply. So what is a girl to do? The answer is to pair up as a female couple and seek a male donor. A seemingly enlightened approach that can help to grow the colony. This should be a safe place to raise a family. But there is a dark secret here. Cannibalism. Up to 50% of eggs and chicks can be lost this way. If a caregiver is distracted for a single moment, fortunes can change. This time, there is a stay of execution. The warmth of the day is setting in. For the resident fur seals of New Zealand's Open Bay Islands, it's time to bask after a morning swim. Summer is breeding season. And for these seals, there is just an 8-day window between birthing and mating again. Bulls, weighing 5 times more than the females, have one thing on their mind: fathering next year's pups. When a male seal is ready to mate, pups are just obstacles to be cleared out of the way. Many of these pups are too young to swim, so escape to the sea is not an option. And there are more pups still arriving. But not all births are easy. And this female, perhaps a first-time mother, may be in for a long labor. Between the afterbirth and accidental deaths, this is harvest time for the flightless weka. These wood hens are famous for their feisty nature, but they have to take a back seat when the gulls come pecking. Up to 30% of the weka's diet is from animals. And helpfully, the seal birth bonanza coincides with its own nesting season. Estuaries and mudflats are refreshed by the tides every 6 hours. This morning's low tide uncovers new feeding opportunities. Wading birds come from all over the world to spend the summer here in New Zealand. They each have their own hunting technique to take maximum advantage of the shoreline. As the water recedes, tunneling mud crabs venture out from their burrows to feed. They may look like they're eating the mud, but instead, they're extracting tiny living organisms such as algae and bacteria from it. Searching for food can take these crabs far from the safety of their burrows. High above, they are being watched. For the kingfisher, swallowing prey whole is no problem, but better if it is tenderized. This time of year, kingfishers have babies to feed, so more than one bird depends on this crab harvest. As the tide lowers, baitfish are also being flushed out of the estuary towards hungry hunters. At midday, the sun is high overhead. The water sparkles and sunlight penetrates the sea deeply, highlighting shoals of fish. After spending the morning resting and socializing inshore, these dusky dolphins are back in open water and on the hunt. The majesty of this aerial dance hides a secret message. It is a signal to join forces and launch an attack. A coordinated assault that results in the deadly roundup of a bait ball. As many as 300 dolphins can be involved. These dolphins will work cooperatively with other species as well. Sea lions are a common ally, swimming alongside the dolphins to prey on the school. Marlin will also join the party, stunning fish with a slash of their spear and returning to prey on the wounded. With the big predators gathering and hungry for lunch, the small sea animals are wise to hide. Perhaps no animal can hide as well as the octopus. Covered in pockets of pigment, it can change color by contracting or expanding a single pocket or all pockets at once. This is its main defense against predators, like the broad-nosed seven-gill sharks that prey on octopus. With the ability to body paint at will, deciding what to wear depends on the environment. The plot thickens when one shapeshifter meets another. Summer is mating season for these octopus. It's more than an arm-in-arm embrace. Because one of the male's arms carries the sperm packet that he must place inside the female through her gill opening. It's a death-defying act, because the female Maori octopus is particularly fond of attacking and eating her mating partners. From romance to death in mere moments. This female has already mated and incubated her eggs. She has stopped eating, and now her life is essentially over. And the blue cod knows it. It will eat almost anything that comes along. Like a crocodile, it uses a death roll to tear flesh apart. Camouflage is no use to her now, so she squirts an ink cloud. This can be an effective smokescreen and can mask her scent, but it's too late. She may have a reprieve, but it is likely to be a short one. The wildlife habitats of New Zealand stretch from the bottom of the sea to the top of the mountains. It is a warm afternoon, but high above the snow line on New Zealand's mountainous spine, it is chilly. This is the domain of the world's only alpine parrot, the kea. Many parrots are omnivores, meaning they will eat food of almost any kind. Although with the kea, this diet seems to have gone too far. It has earned itself a nickname: mountain monkey. Instead of swinging through the trees, though, this monkey can fly. And when it does, feathers made for camouflage unleash a surprise. But, like its wings, the kea has a dark edge. They can be smart and dangerous hunters. These kea know that inside these burrows, there are shearwater chicks whose parents are out fishing for the day. They can hear the chicks chirping. Well accustomed to digging for food, the kea has no problem extending a hole just enough to claim the fluffy prize inside. It's not the only white and fluffy animal these birds will maul before the day is done. In the forest, the world's heaviest parrot searches as the shadows grow long. It's looking for food. The rare kakapo is flightless and completely vegetarian. It is the world's only flightless parrot. It takes balance for this bird to get a balanced diet. But not all branches are designed to carry a 4-kilogram bird. In the event of an emergency landing, its wings are used more like a parachute. They live almost solitary lives, with a home range of up to 50 hectares. But every few years, when conditions are just right, these birds must travel far across their range to find a mate. This is one of those special years. The winds, the weather, and the waves make New Zealand's west coast a formidable barrier and a wild birthing suite. 10 hours have passed since this fur seal started her labor, with little to show so far. Breech births can happen and can last twice as long as a normal birth, if mother and pup survive. She is scared and vulnerable, so even approaches from neighbors bring a strong response. She struggles on, her labor seeming to coincide with the long, drawn-out summer day. On New Zealand's west coast, the weather can change rapidly in the course of a day. The Southern Alps rise up from the ocean like a giant wall, catching and trapping moist air off the ocean. So the next storm is never far away. This fur seal's difficult labor may be almost over. After 11 hours, her precious cargo is arriving. A new seal joins the colony. This pup should be able to feed from its mother within the hour. The mother and pup bond immediately. Their long journey to be together is finally over. This pup will enjoy the undivided attention of its mother for the first 10 days, but then will have to fend for itself while she's away on fishing trips. Nearly half of all seals won't make it through their first year. So survival for this pup is a coin flip. The colony is a dangerous place for a young pup. It is probably the greatest hazard the pup faces in its first few days. These bulls can spend up to 70 days ashore at this time, without food, defending their territory. Bullfights are a regular occurrence, and seal pups are wise to stay clear of these battles. The water is a refuge for most seals. But for inexperienced pups escaping a battle of bull seals, it is just another lethal hazard. In New Zealand's far south, an extended summer twilight stretches far into the night. After a day of feeding, the sooty shearwaters gather offshore in preparation for their return flight. Takeoff for these birds requires a sizable run-up. Luckily, they can walk on water. Pilots like to say that every airplane landing is a controlled crash. Something the shearwaters would agree with. The well-worn paths of this morning lead back to the safety of the burrow. Several breeding pairs may share the same burrow entrance as these couples settle in for the night. This little blue penguin is also ready to call it a day. But the transition from water to land can be a dangerous moment for these penguins. Camouflage is its only real defense. Its white belly blends in with the light from above, while its darker slate blue back matches the darkness of the sea floor. It's not a unique approach. The great white shark hunting the little blue uses the same kind of camouflage to hide from its prey. This great white is a local, but it migrates as far as Australia in cooler months, and then returns here to feed in the summer. It can smell blood in the water up to 5 kilometers away. It can easily smell this penguin. Little Blue makes a lucky escape. When it's time to come ashore, these birds of a feather like to stick together. Every night they form a raft and move as one. Finding a seal blocking their way is the last thing these penguins want to see. They will need to tiptoe past this hulking predator. Safety at last. There are many homes close to the New Zealand coast. So this penguin has chosen a highly civilized burrow and already dug out. But in another burrow, it's time to get up. Freed from incubating his egg, this male kiwi is back in the fast lane and able to see off intruders from his territory. He has shrugged off the need to fly. For millions of years, the only land mammal here was a bat. The coast was clear to make a living off the land. On the outside, the kiwi seems to have an identity crisis. Feathers more like fur. Whiskers like a cat. And digging burrows like a badger. Unlike any other bird, he has nostrils at the tip of his beak, able to detect prey 10 centimeters underground. He may also be able to sense movement. This high-tech beak probes for information, making it very difficult to slide under the radar. It's bad news for earthworms. In the canopy above, a moorpork looks down. It is no danger to the kiwi, but other animals on the forest floor are at grave risk when this owl decides to stretch its wings. The owl's prey tonight is one of New Zealand's only 2 species of native mammal. Like so many of the country's birds, the short-tailed bat is evolving towards flightlessness. More like tiny wolves than bats, they flood across the forest floor in a pack, devouring unlucky bugs. These bats even have extra claws to help them grapple their way toward prey. Tonight, this short-tailed bat is hunting weta, an insect almost as unusual as the bats. These demon grasshoppers are tough. They've seen dinosaurs come and go. Some species have tusks, and they know how to use them. Males compete for territory in tusk battles that will only stop when one is beaten into submission. Another predator in these forests comes in a shell the size of a hamburger. This giant snail is on the hunt, but not for anything vegetarian. It has a taste for meat. Like most snails, it is prone to dehydration. It comes out at night to avoid the heat of the sun. But you won't find this giant in your garden. This is a forest dweller whose ancestors go back 200 million years. The roof of this cave is glowing. The light show is mesmerizing. But it is also a death trap. These sticky silken threads, like so many chandeliers, belong to the larvae of the fungus gnat. They are commonly called glowworms. Like a moth to a flame, the glowworm's light draws insects in, so they can be snared. Movement alerts the glowworm to its meal, like a strand of a spider's web. It will spend months consuming its way into adulthood. As an adult fly, it will only survive a number of days, just enough time to mate, making sure the lights of this cave will keep glowing. In a deep water cave, female manta rays are gathering to mate. The males are smaller than the females, and even though he may have an invite, he needs to approach with care. The only way he can keep contact long enough to mate is to bite down on her pectoral fin and hold on. She will take two things away from this underwater dance: sperm from the male and a new set of scars. Back in the high country, the kea has new prey. Livestock usually fall victim to predatory mammals. But under the cover of night in the Southern Alps, some kea mountain parrots have acquired a taste for lamb. They dig through fleece, skin, and muscle to reach the fat that surrounds the sheep's kidneys. Taking a free ride and a free meal this way resulted in the Kea being persecuted with a bounty on its head. The Kea is now protected. The sheep, however, is at risk of serious infection from the attack that could lead to death. Luckily, this alpine drama is not played out on a regular basis and is unlikely to result in the extinction of sheep, numbering some 30 million in the country. Other parrot business has a softer side. The romance of an evening has often led to the attempted wooing of females. But for the kakapo, wooing is a masterclass. Survival depends on breeding, but kakapo don't breed every year. Only when there's enough rimu fruit to eat for this male's marathon task. He inflates his air sac to make a loud booming sound that can carry as far as 5 kilometers. A song quest to attract a mate that will go on for as long as it takes, maybe even months. Never before has so much been riding on a single song. There are little more than 120 kakapo left. This solo must become a duet. He may have got some interest. But tonight is not the night. This tuatara hatchling has a primal instinct: to leave the burrow and fend for itself, in case it is eaten by the adults. This is New Zealand's largest reptile. Not exactly big enough to rub shoulders with dinosaurs, but known to exist alongside them 200 million years ago. But they are now under attack from another creature. Rats. These rodents introduce themselves to this country as stowaways on ships and canoes, threatening native species and leaving in their wake a path of destruction. With a reputation for attacking human infants, rats will easily prey on a tuatara hatchling and anything else a tuatara may eat. Rats can produce pups in 24 days, while a tuatara hatchling must spend at least 12 months growing inside an egg. The odds are in favor of the rat. So tuatara are only able to survive on islands free of rodents and in sanctuaries. But this is a life worth fighting for. They can live for up to 100 years. The animals that eke out a living in New Zealand are an unusual bunch. Mammals that can fly. birds that refuse to fly. Birds that fly underwater, and species that date back to the dinosaur. New Zealand's plants and animals enjoyed millions of years of splendid isolation. But it was a double-edged sword. Without defenses against introduced predators, species that once thrived are under threat. New Zealand's castaways may now be trying to survive in a lifeboat lost at sea. Brazil, a giant of a country. Within its borders, a mind-blowing diversity exists. Its tropical fertility powers an explosion of nature. The mightiest rainforest in the world is just one small part of a land where an incredible parade of life takes advantage of Brazil's bounty. But there is a price to living in paradise. A day can be a long time when death, in its many guises, is forever a split second away. It is a struggle for survival in the next 24 hours in Brazil. Brazil's dry season has reached its climax. The sun rises to a vast fire front sweeping across the tinder-dry Cerrado grasslands. Those that can, flee. But some don't have that option. A Campo Flicker family are nesting in a termite mound, and the chicks cannot yet fly. The parents wait until the last moment before abandoning the chicks to their fate. Eventually, the fire front moves on. The Campo Flickers return to check for tragedy. But they find only life. The birds have survived because the termites built this mound with a clever network of tiny air holes that divert smoke away from its vital chambers. The fires occur every year at the end of the dry season. Here on the Cerrado, its residents must adapt to survive. To the northwest of the Cerrado lies the mighty Amazon rainforest, the most biologically rich place on the planet. Here, the dry season sun continues its assault on the greatest river on Earth. The Amazon is disappearing. The receding water has cut off large pools from the main river channel. It is in one of these that a family of giant otters is enjoying the easy hunting of trapped fish. They may look friendly, but these extremely social creatures can work together as a ferocious pack. Here, a fish that escapes one is driven into the waiting jaws of another. A large catfish is the catch of the day. But here, any cooperation ends. The giant otters are voracious hunters, consuming 10% of their body weight every day. The adults are almost 2 meters long, 30 kilos of muscular energy. After eating its fill, the thick skull of the catfish is left as an offering to others. Red-bellied piranhas are quick to accept. They're famous for the speed with which they can devour a body. But in the Amazon, reputation counts for little. Like any fisherman knows, leftovers make good bait. It may not seem like it, but this piranha is actually one of the lucky ones. For many, the dry season holds a far worse fate. A shallower pool nearby offers a vision of the future. The temperature is already in the mid-20s, and this trickle of water will soon evaporate. The attendant diners simply watch until the once fearsome piranha finally stops fighting. But that moment hasn't quite arrived. The morning sun beats down on a nearby lagoon, where thousands of desperate fish are sucking the oxygen from the water. The pool is draining rapidly, and as the water warms, the oxygen level plummets further. These fish are drowning. Caimans, South American alligators, have warmed their cold blood in the morning sun and are ready to eat. But they don't have to waste their energy fishing. Instead, they lay a deadly trap. There is only so long one can swim against the current. To survive, fish will need to make it to the deepest pools or the main river channels. But even there, the Amazon offers no guarantees. Within these channels lurks an absolute giant. One of the largest freshwater fish in the world. Reaching over 150 kilos and 3 meters, the Pirarucu is an imperious hunter. An incredible adaptation to the oxygen-deprived waters of the Amazon allows it to excel where other fish struggle. It is one of the very few fish that can take oxygen directly from the air. It has a huge advantage as it stalks the oxygen deprived and then inhales its prey with a speed almost imperceptible to the eye. In a rush of water and air, the small fish struggles for breath no longer. The relative cool of the Amazon's morning has evaporated, and the temperature is now in the high 20s. It will only get more oppressive as the day wears on, so a band of peccaries takes the opportunity to search for food. And so does a hungry jaguar. The receding floodwaters have opened up vast and growing tracts of land where prey can run and hide, making this a mouth-watering opportunity. Breakfast disappears into the forest. The largest cat in the Americas can ill afford to expend energy on failed chases such as this. With the mercury approaching 30 and rising, the heat sucks moisture from the jungle into the air, a blanket of humidity. Life collects around the water, where the giant otter family are making the most of the dry season's riches. The time of plenty means time to play for this season's 3 pups. They are well protected as they swim under the watchful eyes of their family, which is good because there are other watchers here. The snorting sound signals danger, a call to action. The mother lifts the pups to safety, and the rest of the family goes on the attack. A growl is incorporated into the alarm call as a threat to the caiman. A family is a formidable opponent, known to kill even large caimans. The pups are safe to return to their play, but there is a serious side. These youngsters are in a race against time. The family is still providing their food, but they need to learn to hunt for themselves before the rains come and prey is harder to catch. In the daily struggle for existence, the fate of an individual is like a mere leaf on a tree. Yet each individual plays a small role in the forest's survival. Reaching high into the canopy stands a Brazil nut tree. Compared with this giant, a tiny agouti seems inconsequential. But the agouti is one of the few creatures in the forest whose strong teeth and jaws can gnaw through the Brazil nut's hard, woody exterior. What it doesn't eat now, it saves for later. By hoarding these nuts, it serves not only its own ends, but those of the tree as well. But the agouti has some unwanted attention. A puma. Hidden and forgotten, the Brazil nut, which the agouti unlocked and buried, now stands a chance of germinating. In another few centuries, it may be a tree towering over a rainforest clearing of its own. The forest canopy is a different world, removed from the ebb and flood of the waters below. As the day continues to heat up, the howler monkeys emerge. And they fully deserve their name. The howl is the loudest made by any animal in the Americas, audible for 5 kilometers. They may sound like a call to arms, but these howls are actually designed to keep the peace by defining territory so that other troops don't venture too close. Avoiding conflict is a serious business here in the tropics, where even the slightest wound can cause fatal infections. While the howlers have found their favored method to avoid such surprise encounters, the tiny squirrel monkey has evolved a less raucous, though no more discreet method. It urinates on its hands and feet to leave its personal signature, a chemical barcode, as it scampers along the branches. But not all of the canopy dwellers are so keen to avoid their neighbors. This golden-handed tamarin calls in on a young macaw couple next door. But the macaws seem to prefer privacy. They have nutcracker beaks and powerful claws. They finally persuade the tamarin that it has outstayed its welcome. The reason for the lack of hospitality may now be apparent. The pair has other things on its mind. Macaws mate and pair for life. The forest canopy provides protection, easy travel, food, and good visibility for the monkeys and their predators, including the fearsome harpy eagle. With a wingspan of 2 meters, it is the world's largest eagle. Though the squirrel monkey's life is over, its story does not end there. It is destined to fuel the next generation. The chick is almost ready to fledge, but for now, it is totally dependent on its parents for food. And not a scrap is wasted. The chick is large and strong, but it still lacks the confidence to leave the 30-meter-tall nesting tree. For now, short practice flights exercise his muscles and tune his balance. Soon, he will make the leap and take his place among the apex predators of the Amazonian skies. When the chick finally starts to hunt, one animal will be at the absolute top of its menu. The three-toed sloth. It has the lowest muscle mass relative to body weight of any mammal. An adaptation that allows it to subsist on one of the poorest diets. Eating the leaves that few others can stomach ensures that the three-toed sloth avoids any strenuous competition for food. But her low-calorie diet leaves her with no energy to spare. So she has adaptations, including an extra bone in her neck that allows her to swivel her head almost full circle, so she can watch her back with minimum effort. The sloth's baby will spend over 6 months clinging to its mother. For this curious capuchin, the docile sloth seems like an opportunity for some entertainment. But any mother defending her child has a trick or two up her sleeve. But the Amazon holds much bigger dangers for a sloth than a mischievous monkey. And those dangers must be faced today if the sloth is to see tomorrow. High noon in the Amazon. The dry land drives back the water to its summer quarters. In the heat, animals pant, look for salt, or make for the shade. The caiman's mouth hangs open in an attempt to release as much heat as possible. Even the hyperactive giant otters are taking a break to digest the morning's catch. The power of the equatorial sun has brokered a delicate peace, for now. The Cerrado is a seemingly infinite sea of grasses. From its depths, a truly bizarre shape emerges. The giant anteater is over 2 meters long and weighs in at around 35 kilos. It may look ungainly, but it is a supremely adapted predator. Though she is called an anteater, termites are her sustenance out here. It has powerful claws and makes short work of the rock-hard walls. Her specialized tongue does the rest. At 60 centimeters long, it reaches deep into the mound. Prey is glued by sticky saliva produced from giant salivary glands, and then sucked up through a narrow tube inside her fused jaws. Her tongue can flick up to 160 times per minute. A termite seems like a meager ration for such a large animal. But they are extremely high in protein and also supply most of the liquid the anteater needs. Crucial at the height of the dry season. The anteater usually makes just one hole in the mound and takes only a few hundred termites before moving on to the next. The mound suffers minimal damage, and the workers quickly attack the repair work with pellets of saliva-coated feces. And they're not the only ones hard at work maintaining the colony. In the depths of the mound, in its most precious chamber, dwells a monstrous form. The termite queen. She relentlessly produces tens of thousands of eggs per day, replacing the lives lost and growing her colony. The beat of the Amazon heat is slowing, and an empty belly rouses a jaguar from its slumbers. It probes the riverbed for signs of hidden life. Pound for pound, jaguars have the most powerful bite of all the big cats, often killing large prey by piercing directly through the skull. But today, its power and majesty are reduced to delicately picking over a catfish and its sharp bones. Such a small meal will not sustain it for long. It will need to eat again before night falls. South of the Amazon lies a very different environment, the Pantanal. During the wet season, it's like a vast inland sea, where roughly 80% of the land is submerged. But today, at the height of the dry season, an isolated lagoon looks more like a bowl of caiman soup. The receding water has given rise to vast new meadows, enjoyed by grazing animals. But the feast is interrupted by a predator. This anaconda. She is starving and hasn't eaten for months. Even so, the marsh deer are safe. The snake is heavily pregnant. The pressure required to suffocate her prey might crush the young she is carrying inside her. But her fast will not last much longer. She finds a quiet pool that will serve as a birthing suite. The first of her young are visible on the surface. The offspring are born fully independent, but each young snake faces a bleak outlook in its first minutes of life. A host of hungry beaks are lined up to devour the youngsters. The tiger heron deftly severs the vertebrae of the reptile before gulping it down. It's a smart meal, considering that the bird could easily become prey to a surviving anaconda. The feast is timely for the jabiru storks. These chicks need a lot of feeding if they're to become 1.2-meter tall adults. But predators have gathered below the nesting trees, alert to any possibility of falling eggs or chicks. And a wood-stork chick unhappily obliges. The heat and humidity are just beginning to fall. The otters rouse from their slumbers to indulge in a little territory marking. Urine and feces are mixed into the sand and spread over the beach to make it abundantly clear to unrelated otters just whose beach this is. But the performance is interesting an audience. Siesta time is over for the caimans as well. And they are not the only predators drawn to the lagoon. A jaguar also stalks the margins. Hunting otters is for the foolish and the desperate. A whole family is usually far too formidable a target to take on. But an empty belly can have profound effects. But perhaps it's not otter the jaguar is hunting. With a single bite, it instantly severs the caiman's cervical spine. Its once vigorous body hangs limp as the jaguar hurries away to finally enjoy a feast. As the day cools, the deadly dance of predator and prey reaches its climax. And not all will still be on the floor come nightfall. It's a late lunch for the anaconda. Every time the caiman exhales, the 3.5-meter snake tightens to fill the space until the caiman's lungs can no longer inflate, and the last glimmer of life is finally squeezed from its bulging eyes. The anaconda's long fast will soon be broken. A kill of this size will sustain her until the rains return. In the Amazon canopy, a sloth devours Cecropia leaves. But when the leaves run out on one tree, the sloth must move to another. But descending to the forest floor would be perilous. Hungry predators await. Weak and slow, she would be practically defenseless. Instead, she attempts the transfer in the canopy, difficult with her lack of agility. Thankfully, this aerial gymnastics routine is scored on execution rather than speed. A score of 0 in either case. Fortunately, she is a much more accomplished swimmer. Her lack of muscle makes her buoyant, the water bestowing a freedom of movement that she lacks on land. The sloth makes it to the shore. Her weight no longer supported, she hauls her body from the water. It would take over 2 weeks to travel a single kilometer. She finally reaches her desired tree and escapes the peril of the forest floor to begin the long climb back to the safety of the canopy. It's been quite the odyssey for this most reluctant of adventurers. But the Amazon offers no special treatment to the intrepid. Mother Nature is a cold parent. She must take from one to give to another. For now, Mother Nature is generous to the harpy chick. He is ready to take the leap. Another young member of the most powerful eagle species in the Americas spreads its wings and embraces the jungle skies. Dusk begins to fall on the Amazon. The agitated contact calls of the giant otter family betray that all is not well. One of the family is missing. A jaguar, caiman, puma, or anaconda may have ambushed the young female. The calling becomes more desperate as the darkness grows. There is no response. On Brazil's Cerrado, change is in the air. But the downpour stops as abruptly as it began. This is just the beginning of the end of the dry season. The conditions are right. The rain inspires the emergence of termites, different from the usual workers. Termites with wings. An exodus of winged males and females emerge from thousands of termite mounds. Once a year, this exquisitely choreographed mating flight is evolution's ingenious method of allowing the siblings from each mound to mate with unrelated termites. It breaks the genetic stranglehold of the single breeding queen from each mound. Every mated female becomes a queen in her own right and returns to the ground with her mate to begin a new mound, eventually laying tens of millions of eggs in her 10-year lifetime, if she lives past tonight. Flocks of birds glide amongst the mating dancers, beautiful against the distant sunset, brutal up close. As night falls, the birds depart, and the termite mounds undergo a remarkable transformation. The light show is created by a chemistry as dazzling as it is deadly. The green bioluminescence is emitted by the larvae of the headlight click beetle. They live buried deep within the mound walls for up to 4 years, programmed to emerge for this single event. Their illumination suddenly switches on, and winged termites are drawn to the light. As they fly close, the vibration from their wings causes the larvae to shine more brightly, and it's a fatal attraction. This is the only time the larvae eat. A crucial meal that will provide the nutrition to metamorphose into headlight beetle adults. In the Amazon, the relative cool of the dark provides some relief, but it's also perfect conditions for nocturnal hunters. Monkeys take to the very highest, flimsiest branches, beyond the reach of even the most nimble predator. On the ground, deer continue to feed. But they're not the only ones looking for a meal. A vampire bat attempts to whet its fangs. Once on the ground, the bat uses heat detectors in its nose to locate an area where blood vessels are close to the skin, while the deer relies on a keen ear and a surly attitude. The bat finally manages to land unnoticed. An anticoagulant stops the blood from clotting, so the bat can drink its fill. But not tonight. The deer is too wary, and it has good reason. A much larger threat is approaching. A puma. A distant alarm call spooks the deer. But it's not enough. Unnoticed, the puma gets within striking distance. But help arrives from an unlikely source. A frog startles at the puma's approach. Another bloodless night. Back on the Cerrado, the eyes of another predator shine from the darkness. A maned wolf has a meal in her sights. And tonight's victim is more obliging than most. It is the fruit of the Libera tree. A member of the deadly nightshade family, few can stomach it. But for the maned wolf, the poison combats a painful kidney parasite. Without the Libera, her life would be a misery. And the Libera needs the wolf too. As usual, the wolf marks her territory atop a small anthill. The resident leaf-cutter ants emerge to confiscate the droppings. And down they go into the nest, where they are fed to the ants' fungus garden. Moist, warm, and dark, it is the perfect place for a Libera seed to germinate. With the well-tended fungus garden providing moisture and nutrients all year round, the tree will soon grow up, through the roof, and out into the sunlight. As dawn breaks over the Amazon, a solitary giant otter swims. This young female has abandoned her family to wander alone in the Amazon with one perilous goal: to start her own family. The heart is a lonely hunter, and the balance between the desire to breed and the dangers of life on her own has finally tipped. She will risk attack by big cats, anacondas, and caimans, all in the service of one of the billions of biological drives that power every wild 24 hours in Brazil.